Thank you so much for watching Rift TV. Now, this interview is obviously with video, but I don't interview everybody on Zoom. That's why I put it on my Talkin' Rock with Meltdown podcast. We talk to rock artists from all over the genre. So check out Talkin' Rock with Meltdown wherever you get your podcasts. And now to today's video interview. Now, Dan, I want you to know that I don't just shill for everybody, okay? I don't just, I did this just for you.
Wonderful. Fantastic.
Yeah, the asset mindset, a special forces perspective for achieving success is the book. We'll get into that here in a few minutes. But first of all, for those people that don't know who you are, give us a brief synopsis of your career and tell everybody what you do now.
Okay, so my career right now is I do security for Kid Rock. His personal security. I'm at his house when we travel with him. And I look out for him like I looked out for guys on my team when I was in the Army. So prior to working for Bob, we'll call him Kid Rock, I was a Green Beret on the U.S. Army Special Forces ODA 7226, which was earlier known as 756. So actually, I'm wearing the shirt right now. So shout out to my old team. And I was an engineer on there. So what I did as an engineer, it's called an 18 Charlie. So 18 is a reference to special forces. So everybody in the military has an MOS, or a military occupational specialty. So I was 18 series, and then the Charlie was the engineer on the team, kind of like a combat engineer. So we would build things or we'd destroy things. We were the ones that would blow up a bridge or a radio tower or breach a door. So there's stories in my book about me breaching doors and whatnot. So that was what I did there. Prior to that, I was kind of just a blue collar worker who ended up, working in the family business, building houses, then went to school, got my degree in communications and business management, and got my real estate license. I was planning on doing that with my dad, and then 9/11 happened. And as we know, 9/11 changed the world, and I was one of the people that it intimately changed. And that's when I decided to join the military at 27 years old, and I turned 28 in basic training.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that. So we've known each other a few years, but there's a lot of stuff that I don't know about you just because, I don't know, we hang out and we talk about a lot of things. But what part of the country are you from?
Originally, I was born just south of Boston. So I I guess, have some of them patriotic, revolutionary blood in there, Paul Revere and all that. So Samuel Adams.
Yeah.
So I was born just outside of Boston.
Yeah, you were a lot closer to 9/11 than I was growing up in Western New York. So you were kind of there.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I mean, I actually thought about driving there because it was from my house where I lived at the time when 9/11 happened. It was like a 4-hour drive.
Yeah. I remember that day specifically. It was a day just like today here in Michigan. Anyways, and I'm assuming all across the East Coast because we saw all the video and whatnot. But that was the day and it was like cell phones and stuff were kind of new. And I remember trying to call my dad, and you couldn't even get through on lines.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of that. I remember for me, I came down and typical routine, typical day. Go down, turn the TV on, get some breakfast, and of course, what is there? Tower 1 was hit and it was burning. And I'm like, whoa, what happened? So I'm eating breakfast, watching, and then live, I saw Tower 2 and the plane fly into it. And that's when I was like, whoa, okay, this is not an accident. This doesn't just happen. And then the Pentagon followed on. Yeah, it was crazy that day. And it's amazing to me right now that we have people that are adults, over 18 years old, that really don't remember it, because for our generation that was like a Pearl Harbor moment. We were attacked on our soil.
Yeah.
And people, young kids that really don't know what 9/11 is, it's surprising, but we have to keep the information going out there and let it never be forgotten, just like the greatest generation did with World War II and Pearl Harbor, and share the stories.
Now, it's crazy to think about how that moment changed your life, which it changed a lot of people's lives for sure. But did the Dan Fielding back in the day realize he was going to be hanging out? I mean, to think of all the people that you hang out with nowadays. I mean, I've been to Rock's house several times, and it's like, I can't believe the people that walk through the door, and I'm like, I'm hanging out with, name the person, right? I'm just a kid from BFE, New York.
And that day changed your life so much. And you've experienced a lot of things that some people will never get a chance to experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely incredible. I've been around Medal of Honor winners. I've been around celebrities. I've just, and the funny thing is about all this, and this is why I wrote the book, The Asset Mindset, is it all was decisions. And this asset mindset philosophy is what brought me there.
Mm.
Like 9/11 created the fire inside me. Like, I need to do something greater than myself. I always kind of felt it a little bit, but it was just there in the background. It was like an ember, but 9/11 caught on fire. And I was like, nope, I'm changing my life. I'm making a difference in the world. And I'm joining the military. I did my research, and I'm going to war. So I'm like, I want to go with the best people. I want to go with special forces, people that are going to be on the ground. And at that point, I had my college degree, and I went into the recruiter, and he's like, oh, you got to come in as an officer. And I'm like, no, an officer is going to take too long to get to special forces and be on a team, because you got to go to the regular Army first, and you can't go into special forces until you're a captain. So you have to be promoted a couple times and I'm like, no, enlisted, I can get a special forces contract, which was an 18 X-ray contract. So I did that, and I started being surrounded with amazing people and men that just motivated me, which is one of the key points in the asset mindset is, yes, you are your greatest asset, but you want to surround yourself with other great assets. And that's what Rock does. I mean, you see it, like you talked about it yourself. You get to go there, hang out sometimes, and the people you meet, and they're all positive people. They're all giving. Like you and I in our friendship, we hit it off immediately because it's just, we have that same kind of mindset. And here you are helping me, you're an asset mindset teammate to me, and you got it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you mention that, because when I read this book, a lot of this stuff. Now, I never went to the military. Like I've made that very clear. I support the military, and I'm a huge fan of people that have served and sacrificed for this country, as you well know. But it's like reading this book. A lot of it reminds me of myself. It's like you take responsibility, you take ownership, you give and you get back, but you give more. I remember one thing Rock told me, and I might be speaking a little bit out of school one time, but he says, we help people and we don't talk about it. And it's like, I never forgot that. Not that that's a bad thing, but that's just what he told me one time in passing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's funny when you say, like, the stuff with Bob and Sharon and, Rock has just got great key points of life, those nuggets. I talk about nuggets that you learn from people. Mm. And one of the key points to the asset mindset, I call it, it's a special forces perspective for achieving success. But one of the most important things that I try and convey in the book is that you don't have to be special forces to have the asset mindset. However, if you want to be special forces, you better have the asset mindset.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we'll get into the book here in just a few minutes, but a lot of people are wondering, and I did text Rock. I'm like, hey, I'm talking to Dan. So I said, give me something. He goes, ask him about how you guys met. So he said something about the Bahamas or something.
Yes. So I met him in the Bahamas in 2008. So in 2007, I was deployed to Afghanistan, and I was running missions. Like literally, I did a raid on a house on my birthday, and like that was crazy. A year later, I get out and I'm like, I want to do something special for my birthday. So I go down to the Bahamas, and there I am on the beach, showed up first day, walking around. I'm like, oh, here's some music. Is there a club over there? It's my birthday. I want to party, have some drinks, listen to some good music, whatnot. I'm like, something's happening there. I'm going to go check it out. Who is it? It's Rock. He's got his private cabana. What does he do? Loves his music. He's a passionate guy for music. We all know that. All different genres. So he's got some great tunes playing, all that. And I'm like, wow, that's Kid Rock. Well, I got to go up and say thank you for all he does for the troops. Mm-hmm. And I kind of talk about this in gratitude when I explain how good gratitude is in the world and what an effective tool it can be for helping build the asset mindset or build relationships. So I walked up to him to thank him for all he does for the troops and, supporting us. And he goes, oh, are you in? I'm like, actually, I just got out. And he's like, you just got out? Well, thank you for your service. Let me buy you a drink. And he gets me a drink. So our relationship for that first, couple hours and through on is he was thanking me for what I did, and I was thanking him. Mm-hmm. We weren't trying to like, oh, I did this, or like, you talked about, don't talk about the good things you do necessarily. Don't be a bragger and don't boast, just be you. And I was giving gratitude. He was giving gratitude, and we just hit it off. And here it is about 15 years later. We're friends, and I'm working for the guy.
Now he's you're not the first ex-military person he's hired. He's hired several of them in the past. So,
Yes.
so you started working for Rock right around the pre-pandemic, right?
Well, I've worked for Rock twice.
Okay.
So this is one of the interesting stories of us. So I met him in the Bahamas, like we just spoke about, and that was '08. He had to go over to Europe for a VH1 thing. And he was like, when I get back, I'm going to hit you up, and I think I might have a position for you. And, you know, of course, I'm like, yeah, okay, this guy, Kid Rock, who am I, you know, that he's going to actually text me or, you know, no kidding. January, I forget the actual date, but it's like January 8th or something. I get a text, hey, I got a show at the Brigada next week. You want to work it? I'm like, okay. So I worked that job. He goes, I'm happy. If you're happy, you got the job. So next 2 years, I worked for him. Things kind of slowed down in the tour. I was still in between touring, doing some Department of Defense work, working with Navy SEALs, Green Berets, doing a lot of training, contractor work. Kind of separated. We were still friends. We'd hang out when our timelines matched, but, you know, it just kind of fizzled off with working with him. And then I moved to Nashville, and he's like, hey, you know, why don't you come back on? We got a great relationship. We got trust, and I could use you again if you want to come back. So yeah, and around the pandemic beginning, I moved to Nashville and started working for him again. So I'm about 4 years working for him and 15 years in a friendship.
Yeah. You know, I don't want to, you know, pry too much here on Rock, but he is the guy where if he says he's going to do something for you, he does it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I respected about him, you know, and why, because I wasn't looking to do this. You know, I wasn't like, oh, I want to be a, you know, security for a celebrity or do, you know, executive protection. You know, I enjoyed what I did with the Department of Defense. However, you know, when you're trying to surround yourself with positive people and do positive things in the world, he's my friend. I know he could use somebody that's really, truly going to look out for him and not, you know, try and take advantage of him. A lot of people have angles. We all know that. We see it in the world. And I don't really have an angle, and he doesn't have an angle on me. Like, he doesn't need me. He could be like, hire anybody else. He's got plenty of money to do that. You know, I have lots of credentials. I can do other things, but that's what makes a good relationship and a good team is you don't need each other, but you want to be around each other.
Right. So what is the first domino to fall as far as like you deciding to write a book?
The first domino to fall was probably, I think, my wife, and she was watching how I was helping people and sharing my philosophy or the asset mindset. At that point, I didn't call it the asset mindset. But I also had friends that I worked with. I have one military veteran who used his GI Bill to become like a psychologist. But when he needed help, he'd call me and talk to me, which was kind of ironic. And we've joked about that. I'm like, you're the one that got your PhD in clinical psychology. Why am I helping you? You should be helping me. And then he encouraged me to write the book. And then I have a family friend who is an author. And he said, Dan, you know, you've got an amazing experience in life. You've done things that so many people haven't. You should probably talk about it and share. And so I just started writing, and the asset mindset was kind of born. And I was writing because I wanted to share with people on how to help them better their lives. So one of the things that's core for me, that what I've done with the asset mindset is, in Special Forces, we have a motto, De Oppressor Libere, which is to free from oppression, or free the oppressed, as it's commonly known as. I think people now, a lot of these crybabies and snowflakes, oppress themselves with their own thinking. Oh, I can't, or oh, this, or other people are against me. Like, the struggle is real for everybody. You're a human being. Life is going to challenge you. You know, I'm now trying to take that motto, De Oppressor Libere, and move it into the civilian world, where people get to free themselves from their own oppression. Because that's what I think right now is a problem in our society and world, for that matter, is we put ourselves down in our own mind. We oppress ourselves. So I'm trying to, through the asset mindset, free the oppressed.
Yeah, it's clearly sometimes a victim mentality. So when the thing that struck me about the book is that, and I've heard about this before, if you put out positive things into the atmosphere, positive things will come back. And if you're a negative person, you're going to have a harder time.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of people call that the law of attraction.
Yeah.
There's been a movie made about it called The Secret. They talk about the law of attraction.
Right.
And it's absolutely true. I mean, think about it. If you're a positive person, are you going to want to hang around with people that are negative and down?
Right.
And if you're a negative person, you get uncomfortable around other people that are uplifting or positive, or you try and put them down like, oh, you're bragging, or oh, you're lucky. I've had someone tell me I was lucky before, that I was in the military and I got my college degree. And I'm like, how is that luck? I went to college, paid for it myself. I had to do the assignments, and then I joined the military and went to war. That is not luck. That is, you make your destiny. And that's why I say everyone is their own greatest asset in life.
Well, there's the old saying, the harder I work, the luckier I got.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And we have go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, in the military, we have something as far as like luck favors the prepared.
That's true. Yeah.
So the more you're prepared for battle, the luckier you're going to be on the battlefield. The more you've trained, the more you've shot, the more you learn how to move and communicate, the odds are in your favor that you're going to be, have the luck on your side.
Yeah, I tell my kids all the time, I go, preparation is really key. And you're talking about like, for example, when my son was starting out playing hockey, he was a pretty good hockey player. And every time someone would steal the puck, he'd get mad and slash him or hit him or something. I go, look, you got two choices. You can whine about it or you can go get it. So that's pretty much in life. You can whine about things or you can just go try to achieve them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you keyed in on preparation. And this goes back to, like, I know you already have a good portion of the asset mindset. You think that way because I talk about preparation, and I can equate this to sports. I've already done some military analogies. Let's look at whoever's going to win, the next Super Bowl. Did they win that Super Bowl just on that day? No, they trained, they practiced, they did plays before they even play their very first opening game. How many hours of practice? How many years does that NFL player that's going to maybe be the MVP of the next Super Bowl put in before he becomes MVP? It doesn't happen overnight. You have to have that preparation. And that's where I talk about habits can become assets also in my book.
Well, there's the new series on Netflix, which you just reminded me of it. I was just watching an episode last night about Urban Meyer and about when he took over for Florida. And it's like he went in there with a real militaristic approach. And what he did was he tried to break the guys that didn't want to be there. And the guys that wanted to be there rose to the top. And they were like,
Absolutely.
Yeah, keep bringing it. And they're throwing up and everything else. And then when you win the national championship, everyone says, well, you're so lucky. It's like, well, wait a second. That day back in July, while I was sweating my ass off, that all prepared them to make those steps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we do with the special operations community. You go through a selection process, whether you're going to be a Navy SEAL going through Hell Week, whether you're going to be a Green Beret going through selection. Like, people will be pushed so hard that they're going to break you. And I talk about, there was a guy that I served with that he was actually my airborne black hat or airborne instructor for airborne school. He was in there talking all kinds of smack. You want to be a paratrooper, you need to do this, do that, and rah, 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 rah. Well, he ended up going to the same selection class I did, and he quit. Mm-hmm. He had all the talk. I mean, he was a PT stud. He came in there, he did everything, got a perfect score on his PT test, but he didn't have the heart. Everything came easy to him because he was in such great shape. But when they don't feed you right, you don't sleep right, you're cold, you're tired, that suck. That's why in the special operations community, we have that saying, embrace the suck. And you just talked about it with the football, like, you have to embrace that. And the people that can embrace it and push through it and not quit, those are the winners. You start a business, entrepreneurs, nothing's straight up. The stock market isn't straight up. It's this and that and bumps and crashes. That's life. That's the ebb and flow.
Yeah, it's like that old meme on the internet that think that, people think because of your success, you went like this, but you actually went all over the place.
Yeah. Exactly. That's another prime example.
You talk about preparation. I don't know a band out there, and Kid Rock is a prime example of this, that just goes on stage. You see it all the time. He's constantly preparing.
Oh, constantly. I remember being shocked about that when I first started working for him back in 09.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we would get on the tour bus and then we'd get a disc burned, handed to us, and driving to the next city that night, Rock would watch the whole episode, or the whole concert, I should say, not episode. Mm-hmm. And he would be tweaking it. All right, what can we do better? Ooh, the lighting was off a little bit here. Oh, no, let's get some timing with these lasers. You know what? The fans, they love Kid Rock. They're going to be like, woohoo, great concert. But he always wanted to do better, always trying to improve. And that, again, is the asset mindset. You know, people that are successful are always working. They're always trying to be better. And if you're not working to be better in life, then your life's not going to get better. It's not hard. It's kind of like diet and exercise if you want to be healthy. Yeah, there's some things that necessarily can't be totally controlled by diet and exercise. But I can pretty much tell you your odds are a lot better, like we spoke about odds. If you do diet and exercise, even if you get an illness, you're going to be able to handle it better. You know, you're going to be able to recover faster. There's things that we all know we can do. It's having that discipline and then taking ownership of our lives to really make it happen. And that's what the book is doing for people. And it's really changing lives, which to me, you know, there's that old saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. After 9/11, I was all sword. I'm like, you know, but for us, it was a rifle. You know, I'm like, I'm going to go get these guys, these terrorists. They're killing innocent people in the world. They don't even know who they are. You know, like the poor people on the planes, kids, everything. I'm like, this is evil. I need to go and hard charge. But now I'm seeing how I'm changing people's lives, and I'm able to touch so many more people through this book. It absolutely just is mind-boggling, and it's creating more fire for me to get it out there, to help people, to do stuff like I am with you, to share it, because it's truly making a difference, and I'm so humbled by it.
Yeah, whenever somebody like contacts me about advice for their kids, or they want to tour the station or something, I always try to do that to help out people, to kind of show them what's going on out there. You mentioned Rock watching episodes, watching his shows, his concerts back. And that's just, I'll tell you exactly why he does this. And I'll almost guarantee why he does this. It's the same reason I will watch this, or I will listen to my podcast, because when you're in the moment, it's way different than when you're watching it from the crowd.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's why he does that. That's my take on it anyways.
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely. Because you can't see everything when you're doing it. If you're a boxer.
When you're there feeling it, it's different than when you're in the fifth row.
Yes, absolutely. And you learn a lot. And that's also, being someone that can take criticism.
Yeah.
You're going to critique, so to speak, your show or yourself. Like you do that, you watch a podcast of yourself or something you did. We all need to critique ourselves. It's very important. But we can't let it get us down. Like, it's got to be a positive. Like, okay, this is a learning experience.
Right.
I love that acronym that they use with FAIL, first attempt in learning. You may fail, but you're going to learn from it. So it was a lesson, and everybody failed. I mean, you can go to Sylvester Stallone. How many times did he try and get the Rocky movie out there? And his manuscript got shut down, and then it ended up being an incredible worldwide hit and went on, there's so many stories like that.
Well, I think that people that tend to win a lot, I think they're kind of losing at something. I always told once again, going back to my kids in hockey, I don't mind if they get their ass handed to them, as long as it doesn't happen all the time. You got to get your ass beat every now and then, right?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. I mean, some days are sunny, some days are rainy. Right. Sometimes it's a hurricane, sometimes it's perfect, and that's what makes you appreciate those good moments. If someone always wins, and I'll go back to that black hat that I had, he was always able to be the stud and to do things. And then when he wasn't, he couldn't handle it.
Yep.
And that makes people soft. You need to have some of that, failure to build character, to build heart, so you can push through the struggle of life.
Yep, no question about it. Well, Dan, I'm going to ask you one final question here. What is the meaning of success to you?
Ooh, success to me, and this is something I'm going to go back to my dad, who was a huge influence and my first real hero in life. If you did something to move your life forward, at least one thing that day, and you can put your head on the pillow and you were honest and open and go to sleep without any guilt or stress, that's success. I mean, think about it. If you can go to bed every night and just be happy with who you are and how you lived. So if you don't wake up that next day, you went to bed at peace. To me, that is success. I mean, there's other things like, oh, is this book going to be a New York Times bestseller? Oh, is this record going to be platinum? Those are success in different terms, but true success to me, because all those things at the end of the day, when we're on our deathbed or whatnot, that's where we got to reflect and be like, are we at peace with ourselves? And did we do everything we could to live the best life and give love to the ones we care about?
Well, I'll tell you what, Dan, I really appreciate your time. The Asset Mindset, Special Forces Perspective right here. I'll show the book one more time here. You've always been a really good and fair to me, and I think that we've clicked ever since I met you. And of course, it doesn't go unnoticed to me whenever we're hanging out that, you're really the true hero in our relationship. I'm just some guy that just floats along on your coattails. So I appreciate everything you've done for this country and your sacrifice and your service, and of course, the book as well.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it so much, Meltdown. You're a great American, and you are one of the people why guys like me did what we did for fellow Americans and our family members. And that's what makes the American soldier or warrior so special.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Well, Dan, thank you so much. Good luck with everything. Maybe we'll see you down in Nashville sometime soon, okay?
All right. Sounds good, my friend. You reach out anytime.